masculinity will always be attractive, no matter what you have seen on TV, no matter what you've heard, all this rhetoric that's going around. You know, guys get shamed, and it doesn't matter what you have heard, because the fact of the matter is, when you go out here in the real world, you're gonna see how it's attractive and how it is still in demand more than ever, if you ask me. Because many people try to make it seem like it's this thing where, oh, the masculinity is the guy beating on his chest and walking around like a menace, walking around like he's just the a-hole. A lot of people try to associate it with that, with everything that's kind of negative, and that's not what it is at all. And I'm gonna get into it. The Solidtarik talks. Let's get into this because this is extremely important. So when I say masculinity, I'm not talking about these fake alpha males and stuff like that that are going around beating on their chests, cursing people out, flipping cars, climbing on top of buildings and bringing down airplanes and stuff. That's not what it is at all. What masculinity is, it's basically, it's extremely simple. It's common sense, but common sense, especially nowadays, is not common whatsoever. Because some of the stuff I hear, I'm like, you know what? that's why I'm getting farther and farther away from society. It's crazy. It's craziness out here. But what masculinity is basically that strength, physically and spiritually and emotionally. Physically, spiritually, emotionally. It's that strength. It's the logical. Not saying that we don't have emotions, not saying that we're robots, not saying that we're some kind of brutes. But for the most part, it's that logical. It's what created all of these buildings. It's what created this phone that I'm talking with. And of course, first of all, to my young ladies, y'all are just as important. This isn't one of these channels that are gonna like bash and all that stuff, because first of all, I love my mother to death, and I love my, all the women in my life. I have a daughter, okay? I have a newborn daughter. I have a son too, but I have a newborn daughter, and I love her to pieces. So women are crucial. I'm talking about real women. See, when guys come on here, they start talking about, oh, these modern this and this modern that. And yes, this is true. These types of chicks are out there. The 304s, whatever you want to call them, the just fans girls. I'm not gonna say the real thing. All these type of chicks that you see on social media. Do they exist? Let me tell you. Let me give you guys a spoiler alert. They've existed since the beginning of time. Guess what? Guys that aren't so good either. Okay, I can name you a couple: Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez. If you don't know who these guys are, they are terrible people. So terrible people have existed since the beginning of time. Okay, and I'm not talking about them type of females. I'm talking about real ones that are nurturing. Right? I'm talking about the attractive ones that are nurturing, the ones that are soft, the ones that actually give a darn about you, the ones that are going to be like, hey, baby, are you sick? Do you need something? And yes, they exist. Yes, they exist. I be getting comments on some of my videos like, oh, just real angry comments. They don't love you. It's just your turn. And bruh, like, I could tell a lot of these guys are still in that hurt, and they try to say that they're not, but they are, right? Because yes, even though that those type of young ladies exist, and I've seen them and I've experienced it, cool, I even talk about it, there are ones that are truly attracted to you and truly desire you. It's cool if you haven't found one like that yet, okay? But for the most part, masculinity is gonna attract the young ladies that are in the polar opposite, the ones that are soft, the ones that smell good, the ones that are in shape, all that good, are the ones that you find attractive, and they're going to treat you right. And masculinity is what really brings that out of them, okay? And the one thing about masculinity is that a part of it is that part that has a backbone, is that part that's gonna say something, the part of it that's gonna check a young lady. So this is what this is gonna do, is it's gonna weed out the ones that aren't gonna be with it, that aren't attracted to it, because you're gonna get a lot of them that are gonna push back on you, and that's fine. This is what it's meant to do. It's meant to filter out. It's like some kind of process. You know when you go to managers and supervisors, when they're looking to hire people, or a hiring agency, they're not just gonna let anybody in, right? They're not just gonna, the first 10 people get the job. No, that's not how it works. It's a filtering process. It's an elimination process. That is how your masculinity works, because your masculinity does involve that backbone, that standing up for yourself. And this is why it's attractive, because to a real woman, it's going to show that you don't just fall for anything, because what that translates into is that protection side. That protection side, that's what it translates into. The reasonable, stoic, sometimes, guys, we be losing our cool as men. I'm not going to sit here and just act like I'm just the most stoic, just Marcus Aurelius, Greek philosopher, or Roman emperor. He was a Roman emperor. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm that. But the thing about it is, women look for that kind of cooler, stoic side, because they're the ones that are emotional, and that's what's going to help you get with the right type of women, is that nice and stoic. I hate using that word stoic because it's been watered down so much in these spaces, but that calm, cool, and collected, because masculinity isn't all beating your chest and hitting and all that. That is a side of it. That is a side of it. That's a side that only comes out when it's necessary. It's a side that comes out when you need to, once again, protect. If you have a family, if you're growing a family or trying to grow a family, this is where you're going to come into play. Okay. There is that side. There is the side that has to get a little aggressive, a little rough and tough. But for the most part, that's what masculinity is. It's misunderstood. It's cool, calm, and collected. It's like the guy that you know at work, or that favorite uncle that you got, or that cool cousin, or that homeboy that you have. Why is it that they're cool as hell? Well, because they have a relaxed aura. They're very relaxed. They're not super emotional. They're not always in a tizzy. And that's a huge part of masculinity. And that's what attracts young ladies. That's why a lot of chicks look for guys that, guys that are super thirsty, turn them off. Because that clingy side, that super emotional, that super, I want to be up under you 24/7 and texting you every 5 minutes, all that stuff, that's more on the feminine side. And they're not going to admit it. They're going to be like, oh no, girls shouldn't do that and stuff like that. Look, when they meet a guy that's masculine, I'm telling you, all that stuff flies out the window. All of those rules and all of those stipulations, and I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, that stuff flies out the window. All of these videos you see on social media and Instagram, and oh, I'm never chasing a man and he got to come to me and do let me tell you something. When the cameras turn off and they finally meet a guy that they're actually attracted to and he's masculine, trust me, they're going to do that. They're going to be hitting them up. They're going to be wanting to spend time, because for one, masculinity is not that common nowadays. It's really, really not. And it's getting hard to tell which guys are actually, a lot of young ladies, they'll actually say this, and it could be made an argument that this is what the feminist movement did, that it made guys act like this. And I do kind of agree with that, because men, like I said in the beginning, men are ashamed of having masculinity. But a lot of chicks, it's backfiring on them, because they can't tell if a dude is straight or plays for the other team, you know, or if he likes the other side, which is their business, okay, which is those dudes' business. Nothing against them, but that's what happens when masculinity is lost. A lot of these chicks are struggling more and more to find somebody that is actually masculine, the stuff that's actually attractive. And what's happening is they get it confused and they start acting more masculine, and now it's like the dynamic is flipped. That's another subject, but the dynamic is flipped. Now she's acting all rough and tough, you know, thanks to these new age influencers. You know, you got these chicks like Cardi and Sexy Red and all that, straight up acting like dudes. And it's just, it's a very confusing time, fellas. But if you stick with that masculinity, right, and then on top of that spiritual and emotional strength, you got the physical strength. Of course, I'm gonna talk about working out. Almost every single video that I make, I talk about working out. That is super. A dude with a strong physique, you don't have to be Mr. Olympia. A guy with a strong, fit physique is going to turn a chick on every time. If she's already predisposed to being attracted to him, right? It's just going to do it for her that much. When a guy works out, when a guy is strong, when she feels his force, not in a bad way, but in a good way. So, yeah, fellas, just always keep that in mind, right? Hope y'all enjoy the video. Peace.